I've gotten many questions about histamine and how it can impact your eustachian tube and can it give you more problems. And if you are, in fact, one of those people out there that have a histamine sensitivity, there's something called atopic, which are very overly sensitive individuals who are more subject to allergens and problems with histamine and things of that nature, and non-atopic people. Now, I don't know where all of you land in those terms, but some of you are teeter-tottering between the two of them. Let me further explain. So when I was dealing with this condition myself, I was considered an atopic individual, meaning that I had sensitivity to allergies, certain dust mites and things going on in the air and certain air pressures I would have subject to my ears clogging and things in that nature. Well, some of you don't have any of those things to worry about. But this video is going to talk about histamine. And I'm going to discuss how if histamine may be your problem and what you can do about it to maybe minimize some of the problems that you have with your ears. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with histamine, histamine is a chemical that's released in the body. And what it does is it gives you a certain shield around certain allergens and things that can come into contact with skin and nasal passages. For this particular incident, though, we're talking about inflamed nasal passages and ear tubes. Now, when you eat foods, now some of you might not be aware, but when you eat foods, certain foods have histamine. Some of those being coffee, fermented foods like yogurt and sour cream and sauerkraut. Those things can give you inflamed nasal passages and ear tubes. But let me further explain that because histamine is also in healthy foods. So a lot of you are probably watching this video thinking, didn't you tell us to eat healthy? Didn't you tell us to eat the spinach? Didn't you tell us to eat drink kombucha and eat fermented foods, things that are going to be like tomatoes and things like that, things that have been fermented over time? Yes, but this is what I want to explain. If you're considered in a sense where you're not sure what's causing your ETD, you need to do the best thing you can do in troubleshooting what's causing it and what's making it last longer. Now, a lot of you have had similar situations where you've come down with a cold and it seems like you've done everything for that cold to be away and it did go away and now you're stuck with this. So in those certain circumstances, we need to kind of troubleshoot what's going on. So a lot of what I've always explained in my videos is that this condition has a lot to do with muscular problems, problems in the jaw area, problems with the neck being stiff over time, shoulder issues, posture issues. That's what's going to be, in my opinion, the number one cause of why your ears are clogging and why you have this condition. Now let's move to number two, food sensitivities and sensitivities to the environment, pressure problems, ear pressure problems. That's going to be where you have to start as well. So start with number one, get your posture in check, get your body mobility in check. Start with massaging the jaw, massaging the neck, making sure that your posture is looking good. That's where you would start number one. Number two, if you've already done those things and you feel like your posture is great, you work out, you're in good health for the most part, and let's move on to number two. Now, histamine again is found in even healthy foods. Now, what I'll always say is you have to kind of take things out, put things back in, kind of figure out where you land in those circumstances. You have to kind of grade yourself and kind of figure out where are the missing pieces, where they land. So what I did when I was struggling myself, I wasn't too familiar with histamine. And a lot of you also should be familiar with something called adrenaline. That's also something I'm going to talk about a little bit here later in the video. But for now, histamine is found in a lot of foods. And what I did is I completely eliminated dairy completely out of my diet because I wanted to see how I would react to things. I wanted to get rid of the dairy and be very cautious about certain meats, like again, sauerkraut, sausages, things that have been fermented over time. Those are certain things that have been shown to inflame those that are sensitive with histamine because we already carry histamine. And then if you add those foods in, you can increase the histamine and that can give you further problems. But for me, it was troubleshooting. And ultimately what ended up happening is I found out that mine was a little bit of each thing. So let me explain. When you're trying to heal from this condition, you also want to make sure your health's in check. You also want to make sure that you're eating the right foods at the right times and you're getting plenty of sleep. Now, I know some of you messaged me and you want that one golden thing that's going to completely put you over the mountain. And I have to turn a lot of you away by saying I can't give you that. I can't just tell you one thing. It's going to be keeping a journal. You know, you're going to have a little bit of a journal of what does what. But what I recommend in this sense when it comes to histamine, because this video is about histamine, is that you want to start trying to back some things out of it. So basically, you want to eliminate a few things. You want to start eliminating things and playing with how your body reacts to those certain things. So for me, again, I eliminated the dairy. I got rid of the caffeine, and I started increasing the water. I started getting to bed earlier, getting to bed, trying to sleep more soundly. Those are the things that I did. And I even booked myself frequent massage visits, keep my neck in order and in check. I had to do all these things. Then after I would say about a couple of weeks or so, I started feeling pretty good. I started feeling okay. So then I slowly started introducing other things like cheese. I stopped eating cheese for a long time. That's a hard thing to drop, to be honest with you. So I did. I stopped eating cheese. I started introducing it back into my diet, realized no changes were made. Then I started putting other things in perspective. I was like, okay, I'll have a little milk again, see how that goes. No changes there. So I realized at that point, histamine probably wasn't an issue for me. But again, there's a long list of, of things that can be doing it to you. So you have to kind of gauge a little bit of where you are. Take things out, put things in. That's going to be the best bet. The best advice I can give you. But start with a low histamine diet. And what I can do is I can link in the description a low histamine diet, a set of foods that are going to be very low histamine that you can kind of play with and see what's best for you. And of course, if you are under care from a particular doctor that's seeing you for something, you want to make sure to let them know what you're doing, so you're not, making decisions that are outside of your pre-existing medical plan or nutrition plan. So start with a low histamine diet. Take things out. And then what you want to do, of course, we got to go back to number one. Make sure your posture's in check. Make sure you're doing all the things there that mobility wise, that's going to help you feel better. It's going to keep you feeling good. And then again, number three, didn't talk too much about this yet, but adrenaline. Adrenaline is a huge factor when it comes to ETD. Many of you don't realize it, but adrenaline, once it's released into the body, into the bloodstream, it restricts blood flow. It restricts the oxygen levels. It narrows our nasal passages. It starts to put our body through this little war zone. So if you are dealing with stress and you're releasing too much adrenaline that doesn't match the situation that you're in, if you're just sitting at home and your adrenaline's spiking, your cortisol levels are spiking, there's something that has to be addressed there. The stress hormones are all of what makes our body go into a fight or flight system. And when you're doing that on top of high histamine levels, and then you're also having poor posture, it's just a multitude of reckless behavior going on all at once. And it's hard to adapt to all those moving parts going on. So you really want to make sure to keep your stress hormones low, keep your adrenaline in check. Get these things checked out as well from your doctor if you feel like you do need to get those things checked. But again, it's adrenaline. The adrenaline can increase a lot of things going on with the body. And low histamine diet, be sure to check with how your histamine levels are. Of course, you won't know that, but you want to make sure the foods that you're eating. And again, I will be linking the type of foods that are going to have histamine in it. You're going to be pretty shocked to see some of the foods on there that are very healthy for you. Like spinach is on that list. But again, it's all about balancing and making sure that you meet those levels. And then last but not least, but first on the list is mobility, posture, muscle related. So I hope this video was very helpful for you. If it was, take time to subscribe to the channel. I try to bring content pretty often. But in the meantime, I'm going to step out of the J Wellness studio and leave you in good hands with this video. Like anything else, folks, we are here to go back to the basics. Take care, everybody.